Last week, Health Canada report circulating in the federal government. They want to get smoking rates down to 5% of the population in just over 15 years. Banning in condos, banning in apartments, banning campuses, increasing the smoking age to 21, maybe looking at the Australian formula I told you. The excise tax in Australia each year for the next 4 years is going up 13% on cigarettes. And by 2019, a large 25 in Australia is going to cost you $40.
Well, they've already banned smoking if you're born in a birth year that begins with 2.
Yes.
You will never, ever be able to buy smokes.
And never be able to buy them, yes. Acquire them? Well, we'll
okay,
see.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. But there's something called Bill S5 here in Canada, and Derek James with the Canadian Constitution Foundation is writing about it in Post Media. Once it becomes law, anyone selling e-cigarettes in Canada would be breaking the law. $500,000 in fines, 2 years in prison, possibly, if they even provided UK information on vaping and how it is 95%, according to one independent study, 95% less harmful than smoking. Let's talk to someone who operates. It's the e-cig Flavorium in the GTA. Maria's on the line. Maria, where's your store?
We have a couple of them. We have one in downtown Toronto and in the beaches.
How long have you been in business?
We've been in business since 2013.
And how's business?
It's amazing because every day we save lives.
Yeah.
Just like vape shops across the city. And we are concerned with the fact that we can't communicate information about vaping to our customers if this bill goes through as is. And the irony, it's not just UK studies. We can't communicate studies that me as a Canadian taxpayer have paid for.
Mm-hmm.
So the UVic study that came in to prove that vaping isn't a gateway to smoking, I wouldn't be able to communicate that, even though I paid for it.
Yeah.
It was funded by the government.
It's just interesting. I brought up the UK study because part of the Health Canada recommendation, which was buried by the thought of banning it in your apartments, was that the government take the UK model and start using this as harm reduction.
They need to do that. They talk about it as a harm reduction tool in all their communications about this, yet the bill itself talks about us not being able to talk about it unless we go through a very expensive to-market process.
Right.
Where I don't think people realize that the vaping industry was built by ma and posh people, where we came out with, we're entrepreneurs, and we're building these amazing laboratories right across the city. In the GTA, there are ISO 9001 labs all over creating e-liquids at higher standards than some of the foods we eat.
Mm-hmm.
Yet we can't communicate this, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's a muzzle.
But when you look at what's been going on with the Wild West of marijuana dispensaries, you guys have just quietly been sitting and suffering in silence. You need a Mark Emery is what I'm saying.
Well,
you need a spokesperson who comes on the radio and says, look, this is a choice for the health of Canadians. Medicinal marijuana helps people feel better. Vaping saves lives.
Well, I'm available anytime you need to speak to me about vaping saves lives.
But no, you know what, Maria? I want you to tell me that across a counter at the e-cig Flavorium, because I'm about to drop a couple of $100 on equipment that I hope will make me feel better. But the law won't let you do that.
Today, I can. I don't know what's going to happen after this law, but we are fighting. We are fighting Bill S5. We're fighting with our organizations. We're trying to get there and ensure that this happens. But we can't do that without the help of Canadians, without Canadians calling their MPs and saying, you know what, I don't want my smoking neighbor to die if there is a product out there that you're not letting me as a Canadian communicate to them, because I might even get a $500,000 fine because the regulation says no person shall communicate.
Yes.
That means the average Joe, it means that this radio call-in show is subjected to a fine if those regulations decide to be enforced.
Oh, really?
So it says no person shall.
Yeah. I can't wait for this law to pass and bring this topic back. You know, why is it, Maria? Why are the smokers the lost cause? We have harm reduction for fentanyl. We have harm reduction for heroin. We have harm reduction. We have medical marijuana. Why smokers? Why are we always the ones that they don't seem to care about?
Because we've already created a stigma for ourselves. I can't tell you how many people don't want anyone to know they're vaping because they're afraid to tell people that they're a smoker. But if you speak to any recovering addict, they're proud about their recovery.
Yeah.
Yet because we've created an aura of allowing people to be proud that they're no longer doing something bad unless it's smoking. We judge smokers. We need to stop judging people for smoking and allow them to be proud the fact that they vape and they're no longer getting those 4,000 chemicals in their lungs. I want to tell every single caller, if you know a smoker, you need to contact your member of parliament and let them know that prohibition against communicating scientific data is going to continue to kill Canadians. It's not going to save lives. David Sweener said something about if you're juggling oranges versus grenades, you can't say it's the same risk. And that's what they're doing. They're telling us to say that smoking and vaping is the same risk.
Yes.
By not allowing us to talk, by keeping our voices silent.
Yeah. Well, it's beyond my capabilities to figure out why they're doing this. I don't know. Maybe that Health Canada recommendation in this internal document about adopting some more progressive government models, maybe they'll listen.
I really hope so. The bill as written doesn't.
Yeah. Oh, no.
It doesn't at all. And are you a smoker?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. Stop by the shop in the beaches. We can have a further conversation and we'll talk.
Are we allowed to?
Oh, sorry. Oh, my God. I forgot we're on the radio.
Yeah. No, Maria, listen, I really appreciate it. The e-cigarorium.
E-cig flavorium.
E-cig flavorium. All right.
Flavor.
Listen, flavor. Just think of the flavor. Flavor country. Maria, thank you so much for the call. I'd never heard of this bill. You've never heard of this bill. Unless you work in the e-cigarette business, like Maria does, you've never heard of Bill S5, which would prohibit the communication of peer-reviewed scientific information on the subject of vaping. Most of it, if not all of it, is becoming more and more positive. It's not 100% without risk, neither is the bright sunshine. But it is a hell of an alternative to puffing on an RJR McDonald product or any other tobacco product. Yet this bill would prohibit the discussion even in a vape shop of how vaping might be a better alternative for your health if you can't beat the nicotine addiction. Stafford Show, Talk Radio, AM 640. Piece in Post Media from Professor Derek James. He's also a lawyer. He's with the Canadian Constitution Foundation. He's got a question. Why does Ottawa want to stifle information on vaping? E-cigarettes. There's a bill, S5, that when it becomes law, it would be a crime, punishable by up to $500,000 and 2 years in jail for a vape store employee to even tell you any information about scientific, peer-reviewed information about the pros and cons of vaping versus smoking traditional cigarettes. Even British research, which has really changed the government's mind over in London, England. This was a press release from the UK Department of Health. An independent expert review found that e-cigarettes are 95% less harmful than smoking. Technically, relaying that information to you, the consumer, in an e-cigarette store would be illegal. And Professor James asks a simple question. Why? We talk about harm reduction all the time. We have methadone clinics for people trying to get off opioids and heroin. We have safe injection sites. We try to reduce the harm that harmful behavior causes with a large segment of our population. Even in some ways with booze, with gambling. The OLG's got their hotline. When it comes to cigarette smokers, you get this one, perhaps alternative, and public health says, no, it's still a gateway. Oh, the kids are going to see adults vaping, and let's face it, you get a bunch of hipsters vaping outside some cafe, it does look rather douchey. But why are they trying to stifle this information? Rob in Georgetown, how you doing?
Not bad, Mike. How you doing?
All right. You've been vaping for 2 years.
Yes, I have.
If I could put you on a pedestal at Yonge and Dundas to tell people what vaping has done for Rob over the past 2 years, what would you tell them?
I just feel better. I don't feel my lungs. I don't cough in the morning. I can run up a flight of stairs. It's noticeable difference in me.
Mm-hmm.
And not to mention huge savings.
Even with the e-cigarette and all the consumables.
Yes. I mean, I'm down to, a 30 ml bottle lasts me about 10 days. That cost me $15 to $20 for 10 days.
So just over the cost of one pack of cigarettes.
Yeah, exactly. Lasts me about 10 days.
Yeah.
So
why do you think the public health people, is it because they just don't care about smokers?
I think it has a lot to do with taxes not being collected on cigarettes. I think pharmaceutical companies have a lot to lose. The government has a lot to lose. Tobacco has a lot to lose. So the fact is, I'm not addicted to cigarettes and I'm not addicted to vaping. I'm addicted to nicotine.
Yeah.
And this is just a better way for me to get it. A safer way. End of story.
But I think even Lou Schizas has commented on the traditional tobacco companies that they're moving away from the combustible cigarette to the e-cigarette. They got to go where the market is moving as well.
Yeah, but their method of delivering it is a little bit different because they want to sell you a cartridge.
Yeah.
You have to buy their cartridge and use it in their device.
Right.
And it's significantly more expensive than if I just go down to my vape shop and buy a bottle of juice. Right. So it's their method of delivery is a lot more about control than actually getting a product in your hand.
When you got your e-cigarette, did you go to a store?
I did. Yeah, I went to a shop in Brampton.
Okay, they're all over the place, and you had a discussion, and this person behind the counter was pretty knowledgeable?
He was very knowledgeable, explained to me all the different devices and the different liquids and how to assemble my device and charge it and clean it and use it. I couldn't have done it without their help, actually.
Right.
Because trying to find information on the internet was difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, a company kindly sent me a couple of e-cigarettes. God, it would have been about 3 years ago, and they even had they even emailed me their own video tutorial. I couldn't figure it out. I've had more success with IKEA.
There is a small learning curve, but after a couple weeks, you get the hang of it very quickly. Like they're a little intimidating at first, but after a week or two, there's no problem. So. And
waking up in the morning without hacking up a lung.
Oh, it's a good feeling, and I can run up the stairs.
Yeah.
I can. That's my biggest reason for calling is I've noticed a huge difference. I don't feel my lungs anymore.
Uh-huh.
Like as a smoker, I think you understand that when you take a deep breath, you can feel your lungs sort of burning at all times. I don't have that anymore.
All right. Well, continued success. Angelo writes, they simply can't take their lips from the tax pipe until the new pot tax pipe kicks into high gear. They're just trying to transfer their own tax revenue addiction seamlessly. Yet, at the same time, as we talked about it last week, they actively want to get the smoking rate in Canada down to 5% of the population by 2035. And one of the recommendations, and it was kind of overshadowed by the banning smoking in condos and apartment buildings, would be for the federal government and public health in Canada to reverse its staunch anti-vaping policies and look on it as a form of harm reduction.